So, for my next Nintendo game, I should probably choose a franchise that I'm totally unfamiliar with. So let's see. Fatal Frame seems like it'd be right up my alley, but there's also Pikmin. I mean, I don't really have time for Xenoblade right now, but I keep hearing about Fire Emblem, and Luigi's Mansion could possibly be, okay, alright, fine, I'll play Pokemon. This is Brand New Relic, the monthly series where I finally play the classic games I never got to try. Yeah, I never really wanted to be the very best, like no one ever was. To catch them was never my real test. To train them, never my cause. The first Pokemon games hit the American market when I was 16 years old, and by then I was too busy watching Fellini films and obsessing over Charlie Chaplin. You know, like a teenager. So the whole craze just sort of passed me by. I never rolled my eyes at it, and I even tried a couple titles here and there, but it always just felt like something I was maybe too old for. But 20 plus years later, the franchise is still going strong, and there's no reason why I shouldn't play through at least one of the games. And various listicles on the internet tell me that Crystal is the one to go for. Ooh, royalty-free samples! So let's catch 'em all. And by 'em all, I mean this one. When I was 18 years old, I bought a Game Boy Color, and the first game I bought for it was Pokemon Blue. I played it for a couple hours, and I don't know, just couldn't get into it. But I know that Pokemon is an acronym for Pocket Monsters, and that the point of the game is to collect Pokemon and train them to fight. I know there's an anime and a franchise of games, and I know that back in 2016 we were supposed to Pokemon go to the polls, and there's even been a few movies, like Detective Pikachu, which I've seen. It was good. Yeah, I don't know, this has just never been a franchise that interested me. I know a decent amount about it, I even owned one of the games back in the day, but I just could not be bothered. So what's been holding me up? What am I so turned off by? I guess there's one way to find out, huh? And I'm about to find out. Already I have no idea what's happening. But who cares? It's Pikachu! Nice butt shot. Okay, now I'm hyped. It starts by asking me if I'm a boy or a girl. I'm a man. But for this game, I'll be a girl. And what thrilling dialogue! They give me a choice of the 4 most common names for a girl: Chris, Amanda, Juana, and Jody. And how does this game know what I'm going to face? Wait, can it see the future? Like the TVA? I'm in my room, and good to know. I get some Pokemon gear, or just Pokegear, please. Pokemon gear was my father. The game asked me if it's daylight savings time, and I honestly don't know. Already this game is hard. Wow. Rude. I meet Professor Elm, who needs my help. He's writing a paper about Pokemon, and he needs me to raise one in order to help with his research. And I always choose yes when asked if I want to go on an adventure. What happens if I say no? So he just begs until I give in. You know, if it works for toddlers.
Hey! Listen!
My first stop is to someone named Mr. Pokemon. Is there a Mrs. Pokemon? And I get to choose which Pokemon I want to start with. And unfortunately, the trash can is not an option. So I go with Cyndaquil. Side effects of Cyndaquil include dizziness, blurred vision, upset stomach, and nausea. And I can give him a nickname? Well then... Perfect. So Tom Hanks and I set off for adventure, and we have our first fight. Against a Hoot-Hoot. Yes, go Tom Hanks. We stop in our first town where we get a tour from a kindly old man.
The name of the town is Grover's Corners, New Hampshire.
And it turns out we're in the city of cute, fragrant flowers. So, Pasadena? Actually, it's Cherry Grove City, which is sold out of Pokeballs. What is this, every grocery store in March of 2020? We can gather berries from trees, such as Pissencure Berry. I run into the person who kicked me before, and I get my first trainer fight. Turns out their name is... the artist formerly known as Prince? And yes, I am happy I won, thank you for asking. I defeat them, and then I get to give them a name. So, who's the anti-Tom Hanks? Ah, perfect. And it turns out my mom is saving my money for me. Typical trust fund kid. I land in Violet City, the city of nostalgic scents. which for me would be the chlorine from northern Idaho's premier water slide park. Rest in peace, Wild Waters.
You gave me a shoulder when I needed it.
I go to Sprout Tower, and if this pillar's a rockin', don't come a knockin'. And whenever I defeat a trainer, I win some money, some of which I send home to Mom. Which I'm betting I do through the Cash App, the sponsor of today's episode. Cash App is the bet- Nah, just kidding, I don't have enough views to get a sponsor. I fight such renowned figures as Sage Neil, whose Bellsprout makes the same beckoning move as Morpheus. I start capturing Pokemon and they all get celebrity names, which means that Tom Hanks and Tim Allen are finally working together again. I get the ability to flash, which would generally get you arrested, and oh hey, Tom Hanks is evolving! Now he's a dramatic actor. I go to my first Pokemon gym and take on the trainer... Faulkner? Yeah, he looks like he has a lot of sound and fury. I defeat him and get a badge. Apparently I need to collect 7 more, and then have I caught them all? Then Professor Elm gives me an egg. I'm supposed to carry it around until it hatches, apparently. Like a frickin' penguin or something. Tom Hanks tries to learn a new move, but it turns out I have to...
unlearn what you have learned.
Ooh, what a great ball! I'm starting to build up a real who's who of celebrities here. And hey, Lucy Liu is evolving! She can play Watson now! I take on other trainers like Fire Breather Bill and Evanescence Groupie, Pokemaniac Larry. When do these two get their own spin-off games? I make my way to Azalea Town and I'm asked if I came here to have a guy named Kurt make me some balls. If I had a nickel. And the leader of the gym is Bugsy, see? And Team Rocket, I've heard of them. They're the baddies. I take on Bugsy, see? Who appropriately is an expert on bug-type Pokemon. And apparently they're no match for fire-type Pokemon like Tom Hanks here. So I send Bugsy up the river and get the Hive badge. But then Pacino returns to challenge me.
Hooah!
And our egg hatched! It's so cute! I'm naming her Aquafina. And wait, there's a Pokemon named Mankey? Mankey? I take Aquafina back to show Professor Elm, who gives me something I don't want. So now to continue on my journey. Maybe I can cut across this way. Or maybe not. So instead, I head to the ruins of Alf, where I solve a jigsaw puzzle and take on... that thing. Wait, aren't these the creatures in the title sequence? They must be really important. I capture one, give it the classiest name I can think of, and now I just wait for it to become super important later. So now I make it to Goldenrod City, the festive city of opulent charm. Very humble. Which has an amazing shopping center, complete with a Walmart greeter. The gym leader there is Whitney. And is every trainer in this gym a beauty? Oh wait, no, some of them are lasses.
Lassie!
The architecture of this gym is super confusing, almost as confusing as this dude who's dressed as a bee, but I take on such Pokemon as Miltank, which is certainly something. But I defeat her and it looks like this cow got milked. For defeating her, the pretty girl gives me the plain badge. I guess she had no use for it. I also receive a tract, which gives my Pokemon the power to make the opposite gender infatuated. Just one gender? Way to not be an ally, Pokemon. It turns out all of my Pokemon can use Attract except for Laura Dern, and I'm sorry, I refuse to accept that Laura Dern couldn't attract anyone and everyone. You can get it, Laura Dern. Just a thought, if you're trying to impress your girlfriend, maybe don't call yourself hot stuff. Especially when your girlfriend is better than you at this. Hey look!
It's Pikachu!
And then we're fighting a Pokemon that's a Pokeball? Are they running out of ideas? And apparently since I played this section on a Saturday, I got to partake in a side quest. That I immediately fail. Which means I get to come back and try again next Saturday. What fun! In order to progress to the next city, I get a hint about that weird tree on Route 36. So now I have to go all the way back to Goldenrod City, talk to the flower shop owner, then back to gym leader Whitney, then back to the flower shop owner, then back to the tree. Because we're in a LucasArts point-and-click game now, apparently. I battle the tree, like one does, and it looks like it had to leaf. Why yes, I am a dad, how did you know? I take on a pair of twins named Anne and Anne, which must have made things very confusing at home. And the twins was defeated? Learn grammar, Pokemon! I go to Ecruteak City to fight their gym leader... Rude. I fight Pacino again. Meet some legendary Pokemon, and get a tool that will help me find items called an Item Finder. Where do they come up with these original names? I fight someone named Medium Grace, who seems more like an Extreme Grace if you ask me. But I finally get to face the gym leader Morty, and he gives me the Fog Badge. I battle a sage named Jeffrey, beauties get up off the ground, and I have to say, this is absolutely the cast of a movie I would want to see. And it's official, Mr. Mime is my favorite Pokemon. This girl wants me to admire her beautiful Pokemon, which... Eye of the beholder, I guess. While passing through Olivine City, I come across the Battle Tower, which sucked and I hated it, so I'm not even going to talk about it. And then I trade my first Pokemon and get... Volty? Volty? What kind of name is Volty? I appreciate my self-confidence. And ooh, Gentleman Preston, I assume? I meet the Olivine City gym leader, Jasmine.
Pokemon.
She needs medicine to heal a sick Pokemon, so I have to catch a fish in order to cross the sea like Moses, and get some sketchy secret medicine to heal this Pokemon's unspecified sickness. Did I just commit a crime? So now that I've helped Jasmine, it's time to fight her. I get the Mineral Badge, which does... stuff. And Tom Hanks is evolving again. He can now write and direct. And then, I take on the most dreaded of foes. Printer Error 2! Oh, Yoshi's in this? I travel to Cyanwood City, defeat the gym leader Chuck, and now...
We can fly! You can fly! We can fly!
Tom Hanks can move boulders? Hell yeah, he can. Oh, Mystical Man You've Seen, that's one of my favorite Beatles songs. I'm soon at Mahogany Town, whose gym leader is Price, who's apparently the teacher of Winter's harshness. Is that on his business card? But before I can battle him, this guy flat out insists that I go to the Lake of Rage. So I go to the Lake of Rage, where I fight Lickitung? Do I really have to catch them all? I buy weird candy from a stranger, and then meet a mysterious trainer by the name of Lance. Some of the Pokemon are going mad, and he recruits me to help him investigate. So we're on the case, but not before running into Pacino yet again. And this guy really freaks me out. Much like the real Pacino.
You're out of order! The whole trial is out of order!
Turns out we're fighting Team Rocket, and are all these Rocket folk trying to help me get a mortgage? Because that's today's sponsor. Rocket Mortgage is America's #1... No, seriously, I don't have a sponsor. We take down the Rocket folk, including this person who says foo 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 foo, and we find out that Team Rocket is driving Pokemon mad using a radio signal. So, are they playing old Rush Limbaugh episodes? And then, it's time for Lance to go. I'll miss you, Lance. Call me! I need to deal with the radio signal, but first I take on Price. He specializes in ice Pokemon, so I'm going to blaze through this. Blaze because fire and ice and... yeah. And Amy Adams is evolving. She can take leading roles now. I get the Glacier Badge, and now there's one gym left, in Blackthorn City. But the gym leader, Claire, isn't there, so I try to get into Dragon's Den, but I'm not allowed in. How does one get into Dragon's Den? Other than inventing something. So I guess it's time to take down Team Rocket and take back the radio tower. I confront Pacino again, who is really going through it.
I want it Tracy dead!
I restore the radio signal, Team Rocket disbands for good, and then I take on one of the legendary Pokemon from earlier. I defeat it, and... that's it? That's all that happens when you beat something legendary? Okay, so now it's time to battle Gym Leader Claire, who specializes in Dragon Pokemon, and let me tell you, this battle is fierce. But I finally defeat her and get the... Wait, I don't get my badge yet? No, Claire thinks I need to prove myself worthy by going into the Dragon's Den. So I prepare myself for a ferocious battle with... some dudes who ask questions. And that's it, I get the Rising Badge. I'm ready to take on the Elite Four and establish myself as the next Pokemon champion. I head back home, go for a little swim, and I'm in a new region called Kanto. I engage in a ridiculous number of battles, including Friendship is Magic over here. I have one last battle with Pacino.
Everyone wants my Dunkachino.
And then I take on the dreaded Elite Four, including someone named Karen? Is she going to demand to speak to my manager? I take them all down, and it's finally time to challenge the current Pokemon champion. Lance, you never called me, what gives? After a long and difficult battle, I finally defeat him. I'm the new Pokemon champion. Phew is right, Lance. As the new league champion, my Pokemon and I get registered in the Pokemon Hall of Fame. So me, Tom Hanks, Joan Allen, Judi Dench, Amy Adams, filmmaker Chloe Zhao, and Laura Dern will be remembered for the rest of time. Wait, I still never figured out the significance of these weird creatures. But that's it. That's Pokemon Crystal. Or is it? Yes, Professor Elm gives me something that allows me to explore the region of Kanto. But there's not much more left to explore, is there? Whoa, okay, it's like a whole second game. Sounds like the makings of a future episode, methinks. It's interesting, there's not a whole lot here that I loved, but a whole heck of a lot that I liked. So... this is a really charming game. For being on the Game Boy Color, it really does an excellent job of establishing its various characters and worlds. There's a particularly great attention to detail when it comes to both the monsters and their moves. I'm looking at you, Mr. Mime. This is by far the most graphically basic game I've played in the series, but it really makes the most of its hardware, which includes the music. Almost every tune was a delight and helped establish the safety of the towns, the adventure of travel, or the intensity of battle. And of all the RPGs I've played on the series so far, this one felt the most fair when it came to calibrating its difficulty. I can't think of a time where it felt like the game was throwing me into a situation that was far above my level. Oh wait, there's the battle tower, but I promised I wouldn't talk about it. And for being a pretty thin story, it was still a very enjoyable conclusion. Hey, speaking of thin stories... with Final Fantasy VII, Knights of the Old Republic, and Earthbound, you're fighting for nothing less than saving the world. The stakes of the adventure more than justify the 20 to 30 hour journey. In Pokemon, your goal is to be good at Pokemon. There were quite a few times where I was walking around saying, that's it? I'm just supposed to defeat some gym leaders in battle? Having got to the end, I realized that's mainly what kept me from finishing Pokemon games in the past. There's not much that's compelling me to get from town to town. The story really didn't have much weight for me until Team Rocket appeared, and that was pretty late in the game. And while I was down for the music, the sound effects are a different story. Again, it's the Game Boy Color, so I can't be too upset, but you know. And while the difficulty progression was the best of the RPGs on this series, the random encounters was by far the worst. Remember when I criticized Final Fantasy VII for the frequency of its battles? That's nothing compared to this. And that happened a lot. And when you're trying to level up your Pokemon using the Switch method, that prolongs every battle, making each one a chore. You can buy the item Repel, which keeps weaker Pokemon away, and by the end of the game I had stocked up on so much Repel because of that annoyance. And while I did appreciate the detail of the monster designs, some of them have not aged well, to say the least. Like Cloyster. And Jinx. This is a game for kids, right? And when was it made? Alright, just checking. Despite my complaints, I really did like this game. It felt like a great way to get kids started in RPGs. Just a light, fun adventure that feels like a perfect title for the Game Boy Color. I would have no problem picking it back up and exploring the rest of what the game has to offer. And speaking of offers, Skillshare has an exciting new deal where you can— no, seriously, I really don't have sponsors. But I do have Patreon supporters, like Brianne Shaw and Haley's mom. We're nearing the end of Season 1, and these folks on your screen have been instrumental in helping me get the games and equipment to make it happen. Are there games that you want to see me play in Season 2? Let me know in the comments, or reach out to me on Twitter. And if you like this video, click like on it. And if you like this channel, click subscribe on it. And if you like notifications, click the notification bell to find out about future episodes. My next episode concludes the season with an adventure on the high seas. So until then, thanks so much for watching.